We're back with John Davidson, advisor for various venture capital firms both in the United States and overseas.
So what is this Entrepreneurs Foundation all about?
Well, the Entrepreneurs Foundation is something which began on the mainland as an attempt by venture capitalists, it turned out, to help the community somehow. And in fact, to encourage their portfolio companies to adopt a spirit of helpfulness. The idea behind the organization is that when you're a small company, you could be active to a limited degree in helping the community. And as you get to be a bigger company, if you've built that in as a part of the thought process of the company, then you're likely to continue it on. And in the early going, an Entrepreneurs Foundation, of which there are several in Silicon Valley and Portland and Dallas and Boston, and et cetera, an Entrepreneurs Foundation can help by suggesting simple things that could be done within the community, and maybe multiple small companies could help in the doing of them. And they could be simple things like beach pickups or who knows what, but can suggest those types of things to try and build a little camaraderie, a little team within the company and a company spirit towards the community. As the company grows, the potential is there for them to become successful. What you'd like to do then is have them help the community somewhat. Here in Hawaii, there have been, over the years, large companies, the banks, etc., who have done some helping. Now, some of those are getting acquired by mainland firms, and so the transition is being made, and we have to rely more upon other upcoming companies to be contributors to the community. In the way that the Entrepreneurs Foundation works is to try and ask the companies to participate in the program, doing some helping, and to give some of their pre-IPO stock to the foundation. That gift then comes back to help the company later on, if it becomes valuable, by returning a portion of the proceeds back to the company for their use as a charitable foundation. There's many IRS codes to be dealt with here, but the notion is that if the company will give a little bit of their equity now, they'll get a nice tax break in the future, the money will be returned to them, and then they'll have an answer when people come and say, could you help us? They'll have an answer, yes, we have a foundation, we have a fund, we have some money, we can help you. And so they'll benefit in all sorts of ways, and the Entrepreneurs Foundation benefits a little bit too, because in order to continue its work, they get a portion of that gain if there are liquidity events.
Do you have a success story that you know of, how this has actually worked in real life?
Well, there are several, and there are stories that come from each one of those organizations across the United States. And the way we would measure here is different because we've just begun our processes. Measurements that come from other organizations include, numbers of companies, like 20 companies that have returned hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Entrepreneurs Foundations of those places. And then there are several which have produced maybe millions of dollars for the companies themselves, who are then able to contribute within the community. There are some things that are ongoing here in Hawaii now, which probably should be talked about and will be talked about, but I think I'll refrain from mentioning right now the ones that are likely to have good successes. Now, we are building up a nice portfolio of companies in probably about 10 companies so far in about a year's time. So there's been a great deal of interest in the Entrepreneurs Foundation of Hawaii.
So Hoku Scientific, though, would be considered a success story for Hawaii, wouldn't it?
Well, yes, I was becoming a little bit protective there of the information. Why don't we consider that it is a successful story? Because they have gone public. They did contribute in the early days to the Entrepreneurs Foundation. Their contribution now is being held by the Entrepreneurs Foundation for a period of time in order to protect early transactions. The same thing that the company has to do. They can't just divest themselves of ownership. All the employees can't in a certain period of time. So there's a lockup period during which this is going on. And the price of the stock changes during that lockup period. And it has been going up favorably, so we would say this is one of the good success stories. So thank you for mentioning it, and I'm now more comfortable in discussing it.
Thanks for joining us today on Greater Good Radio. For more information or a transcript of today's show, please visit us online at greatergoodradio.com. This is your host, Evan Leong and Carrie Leong, saying please join us next time for another episode of Greater Good Radio Hawaii.